So, after a pretty decent pre-production, then a disastrous production, and then post-production was just all about trying to scramble together something to give to the examiner, I think, in my own personal opinion, that the final trailer is so much more better than I thought it was going to be. But of course, not everything is perfect, so if I could go back, these are the things that I would have changed. Now, sitting down and editing the trailer, I didn't have the luxury of going out and doing reshoots with my actors, so I had to make do whatever footage I had. And of course, the clips that we see in the final product are pretty decent, but the trailer could have been far more grand and exciting. I would have definitely wanted to destroy some box heads, include some much more thrilling but ridiculous fight scenes, and maybe a couple explosions in there, just to make it really seem over the top for a trailer. And yeah, in the final trailer there is one shot where you get a small model of a box head being burnt, but there is still that untouched potential of more outlandish ways of destroying boxes. But at the time, the reason why none of those scenes were filmed was because, well, I didn't know that the scenes I actually got done were all that was going to get done. If I knew now that I was going to make this into a trailer, then I would have definitely put some more fight scenes, box getting destroyed, you name it. I would have added all that in there. But alas, it's only in hindsight, looking back on it, that you sort of think, yeah, that could have been more exciting. If I could have included much more ridiculous scenes for the trailer, I would have wanted to really push the envelope of parodying trailers. But what I do have is good, but feels more like a standard sort of trailer. Now, as for the art direction, I'm still very pleased with many of the box heads that I created, and what the heck, there were still loads of extra boxes that didn't even get filmed, and some of those were my favourite. But if I could change at least one thing about the boxes, it's a definition between the baddies and the goodies. It was an idea that I thought of quite late in pre-production, but the idea was going to be that the good boxes were going to have bronze heads, while the baddies had grey heads. But in the final trailer, you can see quite a few bronze boxes in the baddie lot. Now, in some of the original drafts, there were supposed to be quite a few number of good guys in it, but in the end, I decided that it would be more heroic if there was only one good guy and a ton of bad guys. And by the time I made that decision, it was already far too late to repaint the bronze heads. It would have been quite a waste of repainting all those heads because I didn't really have a lot of spray paint at the time, and I didn't really could afford to go out there and buy some more. But if I had to change at least one thing about the art direction for the final trailer, it definitely would have been that. Have our main hero with the bronze head, his son white, you know, purity and all that, and then the rest of the baddies would have had grey heads. Another thing about the art direction that I'd like to bring up are, well, the guns. Now, I used water guns as the props for the guns. The reason why I used water guns was because, well, I thought it was a good weakness. Now, cardboard doesn't typically like water because it goes all mushy, and I thought if these boxes were carrying around water guns, it'd kind of add into that bit of jokiness. And also get a side of that parody that I wanted. Now, I wouldn't swap out those water guns with fake-looking, realistic-looking guns, but since the water guns are bright and colourful, it looks much more playful than threatening for our baddies. So looking back on it now, I think it could have been a good idea to perhaps paint them up into a much more serious colour, or maybe grunge them up a little bit, you know, just put a bit of black paint on there and just make them look a little bit grungier and oilier. So that way they look like they have a little bit of weathering to them.